If you were told that with a simple lifestyle, diet, or training change, you could cure all diseases,
You want to heal all those diseases? You go to this.
attain almost perfect health,
When you realize that people are suffering and struggling and that there's a simple, elegant solution, a return to ancestral living,
and live your best and happiest life.
I'm gonna tell you guys my pointers on how to live your best life. You can all do it, there's no excuses.
Would you be tempted? Well, this is the promise that fitness cults have. Ancestral living, wellness culture, crossfitters or biohackers, from cult-like followings
First rule of CrossFit, always talk about CrossFit.
to strange practices.
if you sun your balls, that it does improve androgens. I think it's pretty f***ing primal.
You may be part of one of them without knowing it. While all have their own beliefs about fitness and health and how to optimize those, fitness cults aren't always correct in their way of thinking, and it could lead people down a detrimental path.
What's up and welcome to the art of being well.
That New Age practice is often dismissed by conventional doctors, but functional medicine proponents claim it uncovers the supposedly hidden causes that lead to people's chronic health issues.
In your mind, is the wellness industry motivated more by health or by profits?
Not by health at all. Profits.
So the question is, what is wrong with them and why can they be so dangerous? Now, cults often have a religious connotation to them, but it doesn't always have to be the case. By definition, a cult is a group of people venerating and devoted to a specific person, object, or belief. With that in mind, many groups could be considered cults, and that's when fitness cults come into the equation. In this case, a fitness cult could refer to a group of individuals who are highly committed to a specific fitness regime, ideology, or leader. Calling it a cult from the start can sound quite dramatic, but it's not necessarily something extreme. With a few different traits and characteristics, lots of groups could be seen as cults. Cults very often have a specific ideology, belief, or way of life shared by a small group of people. This group is oftentimes led by a charismatic leader that emotionally and psychologically manipulates its members. This belief they have is often viewed as superior to other ways of doing. They have shared practices and acts, there's often strict rules to follow, and they often have a big promise that this way of living will bring you whatever it is you want in life. With those traits in mind, we could quickly think about crossfitters, biohackers, the ancestral or primal cult, and so on. Some anti-fitness cults like the fat acceptance could also be considered. I particularly enjoy the primal community as an example. Primal cult members have a shared belief and vision that modern mental and physical diseases are caused by our modern lifestyles and eating habits.
I mean, look at the world that we're in. It's a mess, it's a disaster.
Therefore, to solve those problems, we must go back to our ancestral lifestyles.
You want to heal all those diseases? You go to this. If you want to stay diseased, you know what you're eating.
They are led by multiple charismatic leaders, the most popular being the Liver King. They view their way of living and eating as superior to others. If you're not living like your ancestors, the most natural version of a human being, you can't possibly be healthy.
If you want to be an alpha organism, do what other alpha organisms do. Right? If you look at killer whales, they're the ultimate predators of the sea. They rip open great white sharks and they go for the liver first. Lions go for the liver first.
Humans are apex predators, top of the food chain. What other apex predator eats salad?
This is often known as the appeal to nature fallacy, whereby something is claimed to be good because it's perceived as natural, or bad because it's perceived as unnatural. You could have close to perfect health, cure your modern diseases, and live your best and happiest life if only you live like your ancestors. That's a big promise.
When you realize that people are suffering and struggling and that there's a simple, elegant solution, a return to ancestral living,
They also have strict rules to not cross, otherwise you're labeled as subprimal and looked down upon.
subprimal, 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 the epitome, the king of subprimal, right here.
And for the community aspect, the ancestral lifestyle has grown substantially since the Liver King went viral. This is a pattern and traits we can find back with other groups as well. On the surface, they might not seem that dangerous. All it really is a group of people having a specific vision about health and fitness and how to optimize it. But it's when taking a deeper look at the psychology behind them and the consequences that things become a lot more sinister. Being attracted by the charisma of a leader and the big promises they offer is only possible if something is lacking in your life, and that is the problem. People are most likely to follow these people at a lower point in their lives, when they feel more helpless, when they feel like something is missing or something could be better. Maybe life isn't going so well, maybe you have health issues, or maybe you haven't gotten the results you wished for with more mainstream fitness advice. In either case, you'll probably be a lot more tempted by those alternative lifestyles. Which influencer will be most attractive to you depends on your current beliefs. If you're more prone towards living in a natural way, you'll probably be most attracted to the primal cults. If you're more used to tracking data and following a more optimized lifestyle, biohacking will probably be your choice. This is something called the confirmation bias, which is the tendency to seek out and prefer information that supports our pre-existing beliefs. We tend to ignore the things that go against those beliefs we have and go towards the things that confirm them. On top, we are faced with other psychological biases. Many use some form of fear-mongering to get people in. Primal communities will claim that sure, modern food is poisoned by chemicals.
Whenever we buy food, it's so important to make sure that we're reading the labels, because we're going to find some ingredients in there that are pretty unsavory and damaging to your health.
And vegetables are toxic for you.
What if vegetables aren't good for you?
I just ask you, why would you ever eat a vegetable? I'm looking for a serious response.
When was the last time you ate a vegetable?
Probably about 5.5 years ago. Why? Plants are trying to kill you.
Others claim vegetables are very healthy and meat is the enemy.
Stop eating chicken butt food, cow titty milk, and also dead carcasses. Listen, all that stuff is trash. What you want to be eating is things coming from the earth and stuff that's 100% natural.
CrossFit will claim that our more classic training methods are non-optimal and we should focus more on functional fitness because it's much more useful for real-life scenarios.
What's this shit? Anyone ever done that on a job site? Is it essential to raising children?
We're really doing this shit so we can go outside and survive better.
In any case, some fear-mongering is used to put down other lifestyles and make theirs seem like the better option. Besides that, influencers probably build a very credible image as well, which makes them a lot more trustworthy to the people watching. They may have an imposing MD or doctor next to their name, look the way you wish to look, or maybe you're presented with stories about how much it improved their lives. They might also have social proof, which is the belief that the majority always knows better, and is why people tend to believe these influencers have the answers to their problems, simply because they have a large following. With these subconscious psychological factors, it makes it much easier to get into one of those communities. But there's a few big problems that can arise with this. Now, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with joining a certain community. In fact, it can be very healthy and motivating to have people around you pushing you forward. If those communities can bring people into fitness and make them live healthier lives, I'm all for it. The issue is often a lack of critical thinking people have about the practices and beliefs in those groups, especially considering the fact that many spread some misinformation or use pseudoscience to back up their claims and lifestyles.
There's radioisotope labeling studies that show conclusively that when you eat an organ, the corresponding organ in your body will receive the nourishment. Most of the nourishment will go there.
There can be a clear lack of critical thinking, loss of individual creativity, uniqueness, and independent thinking. Remember the confirmation bias from before, the tendency to seek out and prefer information that supports our pre-existing beliefs. Often we tend to ignore any information that contradicts those beliefs, meaning that any information or proof that goes against the beliefs we've got from the group, we tend to ignore it. People also experience groupthink, which is when the desire for group consensus overrides people's common sense. People avoid presenting alternatives and don't want to go into a different direction than everyone else. People in the group are then faced with an illusion of invulnerability, which is an inflated certainty that the right decision has been made. People tend to significantly overrate their own abilities in decision making and significantly underrate the abilities of others. Carnivore communities will probably stay stuck into one way of thinking because the only content they watch and that they're shown by the algorithm will confirm those current beliefs. And any content that might go against the beliefs of the group or their own, they simply ignore or not take too seriously. This is of course the case for any other group like crossfitters, biohackers, vegans, and so on. Those three factors tend to be a very big cause for a lack of logical thinking in any group, which can be a big problem. People start adopting all the practices, many of which are not backed by science and could potentially cause health issues in people.
In a mere 30 seconds of sunlight on your butthole, you will receive more energy from this electric node than you would in an entire day being outside with your clothes on.
You guys are 10 seconds in, how does it feel?
Warm. Absorbing energy.
You guys all said first.
Another major problem is that with a sense of superiority over other groups and a complete belief that they have the right answer to health and fitness, people can start getting too deep or too extreme into one ideology. Take for example biohackers. It may start out as optimizing your sleep with some supplements and viewing morning sunlight and end up with $2,000 cooling mattresses and 50 supplements per day. The primal group may start with eating more meat and move more and end up ingesting raw testicles, stop showering forever and not wipe their asses after pooping. There is certainly a point where you can take things too far. But most importantly, the biggest issue faced with those communities is that whether we talk about the ancestral, bodybuilding, CrossFit or science-backed community, no matter where we go, people believe they have the optimal lifestyle, training style or diet, which is simply not the case. What is the optimal diet, training and lifestyle is a question that doesn't have an answer, since everyone's answer will be different to such a question. The primal way of living may be more optimal to some people, but not to everyone because of individual differences. Biohackers may believe that tracking everything is optimal and that being healthy is having optimal data, but to some people, being over-obsessed with data could be a detriment to their mental health, making it suboptimal for them. The science-backed community may believe that not training to failure is more optimal for the human body and muscle growth, but that is certainly not the case for everyone. Everybody reacts differently to different training and should therefore choose what is good for them. Same with diet. People react differently to different foods and types of diets, which means that we can't have a one-size-fits-all approach when it comes to those things. With these issues in mind, fitness cults can get dangerous quite quickly, and we therefore need a different approach. A good way would be to first be aware of what a fitness cult is and recognize some of the signs. You shouldn't be rule-bound and keep some freedom in your lifestyle. There is nothing wrong with following a specific style, but it's when it turns into an unhealthy obsession that it can be dangerous. People should still have the freedom to pick and choose the things they like and want to implement, and shouldn't be stuck into one way of thinking, and be aware that there may be other options out there. Just know that your own brain will keep you stuck into your ways and will automatically reject contradicting information. Simply be aware that your own brain cannot always be trusted. Often people get into one way of living, dieting and training out of desperation to find the best and most optimal one. But remember that there's no point in looking for an optimal way of living life for health and fitness if you cannot stick to it, which is why keeping that freedom to implement the things you like is so important. Depending on your goal, you'll have to adapt your lifestyle to that specific goal, and following all the diet and lifestyle rules of one community may not be optimal for that goal you have. In the end, keep some vigilance when it comes to those communities. As long as it stays something balanced that doesn't turn into something extreme, it's perfectly fine.